So Group A throws up an interesting conundrum. India, New Zealand, Sri Lanka and Japan. Xavier, where's your money?
I would not like to put any money on this group because it is most certainly the group of death. Obviously, you've got three very big full-member sides there in India, New Zealand and Sri Lanka. And then Japan, really the surprise package of this whole tournament, having qualified for their first ever ICC event.
Well, yeah, and Japan is the story probably of the whole event before we get going. So give us a little bit more about what happened and the background to their entry into this tournament.
So it was Japan's first time at the East Asia Pacific qualifier in about 8 years last year. But they managed to come away undefeated through their first 4 games. Before then, Papua New Guinea pulled out. 11 players forfeited. Yeah. 11 players were suspended for disciplinary breaches at the tournament, and that makes it a bit hard to play a cricket match when you've got a squad of 14 players. But anyway, Japan went through after, again, going undefeated through the tournament against Fiji and other countries that had participated in previous years, and it's looking like a really exciting team. They'll definitely be coming away with from the tournament looking more for experience than any kind of great on-field success, but it will still be a massive experience for those players.
I don't think we can really ask for any of the Japanese players to be the standout player in this group. Do you have someone who you would advise our viewers to look at and keep an eye on?
In the Japanese team, I would. Well, it seems like an obvious one to go for, but Marcus Thurgate, the captain, looks like a really talented player. He's been playing for the men's national side for a good few years now already. He's at 18. He's one of the oldest players in the team. I think 8 of the players will be eligible to play in 2 years' time if Japan were to qualify again. But Thurgate looks like a very good batsman, very good wicketkeeper, and the captain of the side.
Great, but it's not just about Japan, of course. There are 3 other teams in the group, 3 decent sides. I imagine India is the pick of the lot.
India, you would think, would be the team right up there. They've had a bit of a strange run into the tournament. Rahul Dravid was taken away as the coach of the side to go and work at the National Cricket Academy instead. Paras Mambray, former India player, played 2 tests in the 90s. He has come in as the coach who's previously bowling coach, so there's still some consistency there. But mostly you'll be looking at India for very good batting potential. Yashasvi Jaiswal was one of 3 players to be picked up in the recent IPL auction. He sparked a real bidding war going for over £200,000 in the end. So he's definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Great. So, big question. 2 to go through. Who are they?
New Zealand and Sri Lanka. New Zealand, I think, are a bit of a mysterious package. They've not played as many youth ODIs in the last 2 years, but they've got a very good batsman by the name of Fergus Lellman, who I think could be quite promising throughout the tournament. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, they've played more youth ODIs than any other country in the last 2 years. And then for some reason, they've decided to leave the announcement of their squad down to the very last minute. They've brought in half a dozen players who haven't really figured in that squad at all over the last 2 years. So it's really an unknown quantity. But Nipanjana Jaya, their captain, looks a phenomenal player. Scored a lot of runs in the recent tri-series in the West Indies against England and the West Indies. And also there's a very good spinner by the name of Kevin Nadishan to keep an eye out for as well.
Great. And so who's going through into the next round?
I think a lot depends on who wins between New Zealand and Sri Lanka, because India should cruise through, such as has been their form on the pitch. But my money's with Sri Lanka on that.
Group B is the group that England fans will want to keep an eye on. John Lewis's side in action in this one. They've got the old foes Australia as well as West Indies and Nigeria. Xavier, quick note first of all on the England squad. What do you make of it?
The England squad looks really good. So many of the players have. Well, 8 players have got county experience for the first teams, and a lot more have also signed contracts over the last winter. Nick Kimber, the very good seamer, he's moved to Surrey this year from Nottinghamshire. However, he's not playing a part in the tournament and managed to pick up a stress fracture, as all good fast bowlers do at some point in their careers. But nevertheless, it's a really good side. Lancashire seamer George Balderson captains. You've got Kent's Jordan Cox. He's going to be the player to watch out for. He scored a fabulous century both in 2 different tri-series last year, one in the West Indies and one against Bangladesh in England. Also, you've got a very good trio from Somerset: Casey Aldridge, Lewis Goldsworthy, spinning all-rounder, and Sam Young. So they'll definitely be a trio to watch out for, as if Somerset didn't already have enough going on in the setup.
Great. Well, obviously they've got Australia to compete with, and we all know what happened with the Australian side in the Under-19 World Cup last time. The name Lloyd Pope will scare the living daylights, I'm sure. Lucky he won't be involved. but there will be plenty to look out for. So give us an idea of what we're going to be seeing.
Yes, Lloyd Pope, of course, now playing for the Sydney Sixers in the Big Bash, and there are 3 Big Bash players making appearances in the Australian 15 this time around. You've got Tanvir Sangha. His brother Jason captained the side 2 years ago. He's also on the contract to the Sydney Thunder and also a very good practicing spinner. Then we've got Mackenzie Harvey and Jake Fraser McGurk. Both have been signed to the Melbourne Renegades. Mackenzie Harvey played all through last year's title-winning campaign. He didn't have the finest season, but still, he was there winning everything alongside. He's also the nephew of Ian Harvey, the former Australia all-rounder, so there's a nice little bit of family connection there after they had Austin Moore in the squad last time around.
I presume that it will be between those two who tops the group. Did you see a way through for West Indies or for Nigeria at all?
I think for the West Indies, it definitely depends on how their first couple of games go, because we've seen in the recent series and when they hosted Sri Lanka and England for a tri-series in December that their batting is not good. However, their players do have a lot of experience. For instance, half a dozen of them were involved in the recent Super 50 Cup, playing for the West Indies emerging team, which is the List A competition in the West Indies, and they came out winners in that. Leonardo Julian, the wicketkeeper in the side, he scored 83 in the final, and if he can fire, and if Naeem Young can strike things at the death and take some useful wickets with his bowling, and if Hashim Mined, left-arm spinner, can continue the form he displayed against England, then maybe they could be in for an upset.
Xavier, you've got to tell us about Nigeria. Have you got any players to pick out at all from the Nigerian side?
There are so many players on the Nigerian side I'm really looking forward to seeing. Sylvester Okpe, the captain, he figured for the men's national side. He actually vice-captained of the men's national side already. He was at the World T20 qualifier last year, and again, didn't have the finest tournament, but then again, Nigeria very much came into that tournament it is a last-minute thing. When Zimbabwe was suspended, they inherited that qualification spot. But he'll get a lot of experience from playing against countries like Ireland and the Netherlands and Namibia in that tournament. So how he leads the side will be very interesting. And also look out for Prosper Hosseini, who is 13 years of age.
13.
Born in 2006, just to make you feel old.
Wow. 2006. Blimey, I can't even imagine that. Well, keep an eye out for all of those guys. Xavier, 2 to go through?
Australia and England.
The Scots are in Group C, along with Pakistan, Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, an interesting balance. Xavier, give us some headlines from this group. What are you excited about?
I'm very excited to see Bangladesh. They were over here for a tri-series against England and India last summer, and they got to the final and knocked England out of that tournament, and they have some really, really good batting talent. They've played more games pretty much than any other nation apart from Sri Lanka in the last 2 years. Tauhid Tridoy is a really, really good top-order batsman. He scored 3 centuries on the bounce just a couple of months ago in youth ODI cricket, so he's definitely one to watch out for.
What chance do you give the Scots? Are they going to be able to make an impact on this tournament?
They're a bit of a mysterious bunch, but they've got, again, some really good top-order batting. Dennis Mackay Champion, who is a very talented pianist when he's not really on the cricket field. And it's a very unique name. You can find out a lot just by searching for it. But also Tom McIntosh, the wicketkeeper. They both look like very strong opening prospects. And if they can get Scotland off to a good start, then who knows what can happen.
Now, there's one story all of Pakistan is talking about ahead of this Under-19 World Cup, and that's Naseem Shah. He's not in it. He was in it.
Yes.
What's happened?
He went and decided to play some Test cricket and made quite an impression. He got 5 wickets, of course, in Pakistan's historic win in Karachi last month. And yes, it's obviously a massive loss because he'd been one of the best performers for the Under-19 side, but they've still got a good core of experience and some, of course, knowing Pakistan, some ridiculous young talent. Mohammad Shahzad, who was one of the first players they actually named in the side, he's 14. Wow. He was about 4 months old when Pakistan last won the tournament in 2006. But then you've also got players like Rohail Nazir, a wicketkeeper who's also captaining the side. He played 2 years ago and was their standout batsman, so he should be a very safe bet this time around.
So who are we putting our money on in this group? Who's going through?
Bangladesh and Pakistan.
Yeah.
But Zimbabwe could spring an upset.
Group D features the hosts, South Africa, along with Afghanistan, Canada and the UAE. Will the host nation have a chance of getting through?
You would definitely think so. It's the only group that has only 2 full members in it because Ireland are not participating in this year's tournament. So you definitely favour the South Africans to go through. However, they had a horrible run last year. They lost 9 straight games, including a 7-0 series defeat at home to Pakistan. So they'll be very much relying on Gerald Coetzee, the quick bowler who's played for Jersey Stars in the Mzansi Super League, and also opening batsman John O'Bird.
And what about the others? We know a lot about Afghanistan's young players. A lot have come through the system in only recent years, the likes of Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman and others. So who's next off the conveyor belt?
Well, the two you mentioned, Rashid played in the 2016 tournament, Mujib played in the 2018 tournament. Noor Ahmad is the one you want to look out for this time. He's a left-arm wrist spinner. He's 15 years of age and he's already got some first-class cricket under his belt. And he could be a really promising talent there.
And what about the other two sides, Canada and the UAE? Always punchy associates in senior cricket. What can we expect from them here?
Yes, I think that one or both could be in with shocking either of the two full member sides, because Afghanistan and South Africa play in the very first game of the tournament, and then the way the tournament works, the top two teams in each group of four go through to the Super League for the top 8 places, and then the bottom two go through to compete for 9th place in the Plate League. But I think if either Canada or the United Arab Emirates, who have a lot of players who played for the senior side in the recent T20 World Cup qualifiers, if they can sort of get their act together and sort of catch a complacent full member side, then they could be in with bringing a real surprise.
So we called Group A the group of death. Is this Group D the most even group on paper?
I'd say on paper, Afghanistan and South Africa should probably storm through this without any issues. But of course, we know how South Africa tend to perform sometimes at global tournaments. Afghanistan managed to get all the way to 4th place in 2018, but whether they can make the same progress this time around remains to be seen.
Well, it's not long till we find out. So once we're through the group stages, we're obviously on to a slightly complicated knockout, as Xavier has alluded to there when we were talking about Group D. But who do we think is going to make it all the way? Who can we expect to be in the semi-finals?
If you ask me to pick 4 teams, then I would go for Bangladesh, because they're a really strong batting lineup and some really exciting pace talent. India, because India, you know what they're like in global tournaments. I think England could put it all together and make a late surge. If they can adapt to the South African conditions in their warm-up games, then they could be on for a very good run. And then I'd round out the top 4 with Australia.
Of course you have to, really, don't you?
You have to.
Okay, and then it's going to be the ultimate question, Xavier, which I know you are expecting. Right now, before the tournament even begins,
Yes.
Who's going to win it?
If you made me choose one, I would have to go for India, purely because of the strength of players they have there. They've already won the tournament 4 times. They managed. Well, you look at the players who've played for India in recent years. Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant, just 2 of the stars in the last 2 tournaments. So there's a lot of future talent in there. Obviously, they've got a massive player pool to draw on, but I think they could put it together and go all the way this time.
Okay, so the bombshell is that India are going to win the Under-19 World Cup. A really bold prediction there from our resident expert, but we're going to wait and see. Make sure that you tune in to thecricketer.com throughout the course of the tournament, where Xavier will be leading our coverage. We'll have match reports and plenty of features besides. Make sure you also go to www.thecricketer.com/Under-19 World Cup to check out all the previews which Xavier has lovingly put together over recent weeks. Enjoy the action and keep in touch.